What's up, everybody? It's your boy Ryan, and this is the Thunder Channel on Nootropics. I'm going to talk about, the simple question of Racetams versus Newpepept, and to answer the question of which one is right, if you're like experimenting, you kind of have to know what they do and what you're looking for. They're all the Racetams versus Newpepept are actually remarkably different, even though they're working on the same neurotransmitter. So in the meantime, what supports this broadcast is a couple epic nootropic products. Number one, the Cortex stack. You guys know the drill. Look, it's a powerful pre-made stack. Motivation, mental energy, verbal fluency, the will to want to do stuff, clean your house, do work, start a company, work on your company. Either get it singularly or do auto ship at livecortex.com. Auto ship is probably the best bet. It's just cheaper and it gets shipped automatically to your doorstep every month, and you don't have to do anything. Do that at livecortex.com. If you're new to Nootropics Ground Zero is where you have to be. It's a video course that I created because there really was no course out there for people that are new, to show you the ropes, give you a framework for how to properly use nootropics and actually get results. Masterclass if you're in a couple years but maybe struggling or just want to sort of ascend to the 6-year plus mark. VTP if you're a guy that wants to raise tests. And then lastly, if you're either a young male business person in need of productivity, or a middle-aged business male that just fully wants to see what it is like to fire on all cylinders on cue when you need to. I mean, with nootropics and the various supplements that are out there, and otherwise nutraceuticals, even research chemicals, if you're intelligent about it, you can sort of induce the type of states that just force you to work and want to work and be highly productive on cue. And that's pretty much what we do in a lot of these larger consults. Now, we all also work on repairing people's chemistry depending on the situation. So email me if there's any question of that, but otherwise 3.5 months or 6 months, get on board with one of those consults if you're interested in doing it. We have a lot of fun, we get a lot of results, and once you realize where you can go cognitively, you definitely don't want to go back. Do that stuff at livecortex.com. Okay, so breaking down a couple things here. Racetams versus Newpepept. If you're a newcomer to nootropics, or you're sort of just weighing out which one you should experiment with first, or I think a lot of people do this. A lot of people kind of do a lot of reading and a lot of contemplating before they take certain nootropics, because they're trying to figure out if those are better for them. And then there's a lot of different ideas about each nootropic compound that are out there that may be correct or incorrect, or slightly inaccurate or totally inaccurate, or fully accurate, right? And so it's hard to trust the information that you might be reading because people don't really keep in mind that's just their individual experience. Stepping back a bit, look, there are 7 major Racetams that are in this sort of category of Racetams to take for nootropic benefits. There are many other, there's a couple other Racetams, but the main 8, I'm leaving one out, and that's Rasatam, because of possible kidney, fussing with kidney function does that in canines. But the others, Piracetam, Aniracetam, Oxiracetam, Pramiracetam, Phenylpiracetam, Faciracetam, they all are optimizing the signaling and the function of acetylcholine. That's like your memory and focus and storage and processing neurotransmitter. When that is functioning optimally, or in higher quantities than normal, but with the right balance, because too much is too much, you function really well. Like doing things that require cerebral output, whether that's like you're working on something uber technical, like learning Ruby on Rails or something, or you're doing finance, or you're just trying to compartmentalize a bunch of information. But they all do it in different ways. Newpepept is the same, right? It works on the same neurotransmitter, but does it in a different way and has some other interesting benefits. So let's break a couple of those down to identify what's better for you if you're one of those people coming into like, which one should I take? Piracetam is doing a couple things. It's improving glucose uptake and oxygen, and therefore blood flow in the brain when you take it. So that's just like one singular separate thing compared to other Racetams that it's doing. It enhances connectivity between the hemispheres. Like for the hemispheres to talk to each other, they do so through a thread, basically like sort of a knitted thread in between the hemispheres called the corpus callosum. And Piracetam enhances the communication between the hemispheres through the corpus callosum. It's actually really cool. But at the same time, it will optimize the way that you use the acetylcholine that you have, which is why typically people take choline sources with it. It'll speed up the transmission of the acetylcholine that you have. So that usually ends up in a good, clear brain, focus, verbal fluency for some people, but mostly like memory and processing. And a Rasatam, slightly different, right? Will force you to release more acetylcholine that you already have, which is again why folks take choline with it. In the hippocampus, from the hippocampus, and that is going to amp your immediate memory pretty substantially if you have the right dose. So if you're executing tasks where there's a lot going on and a lot you need to sort of be storing in your brain for use a minute later, Rasatam is a good option for that. Also, positively modulating the AMPA receptor. It's a glutamate subtype, and that fosters LTP, gives you memory as well, and turns up energy a bit. Oxyracetam, pretty much the same. Piracetam, however, different. Working on choline uptake. So taking choline from your diet, or that's in your body already, uptaking it into cells, and then synthesizing acetylcholine as a result. Different. Same thing with Rasatam, pretty much working on high affinity choline uptake. Rasatam, optimizing the signal strength of acetylcholine, but also relaxing the brain a little bit via some GABA B binding. And phenylpiracetam, make you release more acetylcholine, use it more efficiently, but at the same time, it's a mild dopamine reuptake inhibitor. So though they're working on the same chemical, they're doing it in different ways. Newpepept is, if I could compare it to a Rasatam, it would probably be Piracetam, because it is fostering the efficiency of use of choline in your brain. So it's helping you to uptake choline, synthesize choline, but then thereafter, it speeds up the transmission of the end product acetylcholine. In addition, though, if you're somebody who is trying to, like if your long-term memory is particularly terrible or not up to par, and your reference memory and your brain's ability to sort of like while you're working on a task at the moment reference things from the past or other things that might be somewhat recent but like you haven't thought about in a little bit, that's where Noopept kind of edges out certain Racetams because it's fostering nerve growth factor function. Basically makes you release a little more nerve growth factor than usual, which is interesting. Nerve growth factor is basically neuronal repair, neuronal growth, neuronal synthesis, and that could be a good thing. I mean, I think to varying degrees we all have some sort of neuronal damage. I mean, there's so many things, runs the gamut, that could damage neuronal function. Alcohol is one of them, right? Just to give you an example, there's plenty of other things. Medications are definitely some of them that are effectively mildly neurotoxic. And Noopept is a good option for that. So if you're in some sort of major deficit and also acutely want to optimize cholinergic performance, Noopept would be your answer versus Racetams, because Racetams are not really doing any sort of large scale repair work, whereas Noopept is. The example that I typically give is like, first of all, I dropped out of school in 10th grade, got a GED, joined the Army. I learned what I need to learn, because like right around that time was when the internet was becoming a big thing. People always laughed at me about it. Hey, it's like, oh, Google, like, oh, right. And now I'm sure they all recognize it's like the world's information at your fingertips. But back then, I had a really difficult time comprehending anything that I read, even books that I might have been interested in, be on the next page and be like, I couldn't synthesize the information. So Noopept was a good go-to nootropic that I used for about like 4 years on and off, and wrote a book about it. It's called the Newpepept Pro Stack List. And it helped me. Like I was taking other nootropics before that, in that time, and after. But Noopept was the standout that allowed me to actually comprehend information that I was reading. It's like in the beginning of getting into nootropics, I read a bunch of scientific papers like every day. I still do. But, and like that was difficult for me, easier with Racetams, but ultimately I wanted to improve my baseline, and that's the difference between Noopept and certain Racetams. Like taking Noopept for such a long time, on and off, trying to use it wisely, it's hard for me to attribute it to anything else. Noopept made me able to comprehend information that I read, and now I can read a 10-page paper, and like I might have to go reference some things or something if I'm wanting to go back to the paper, like, what exactly did they say here? But largely, I comprehend everything. I'm not a huge book reader, but if I read books, I comprehend everything. You know, if I read articles, I comprehend. It's like one pass through and I comprehend everything. So that's the major difference. You know, looking at Racetams versus Newpepept, yeah, look, I mean, each of the Racetams and the Newpepept, the effects are very nuanced, and understanding what they do gives you a better idea of which one you should be taking at what, you know, frequency to like achieve certain cognitive tasks, whether short term or long term. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Thanks so much for watching. There's a bunch of papers on Noopept that you can Google or find on PubMed. There's plenty of other like articles on Noopept out there that try to describe what it does, some with references, some without references. So try to find the ones with references and kind of go deep if you're interested in it. But yeah, I mean, really understand the distinction between forcing choline release and then, you know, on the Noopept side, cholinergic efficiency and optimization of the whole system, then fostering nerve growth factor at the same time, which is reparative, something Racetams really aren't capable of doing. Thanks for listening, everybody. More content to come soon, either later today or tomorrow sometime definitely this weekend. We're going to do a live stream again. I want to go back to live stream, so look forward to that. I'll try to notify you guys when it's coming out. In the meantime, go buy some Cortex. Powerful pre-made nootropic stack. Ships to almost 40 countries at this point. Entrepreneurs, business people tend to use it. Just like people who want focus, people who want to just be locked in. Get it singularly or do auto ship. livecortex.com. If you are new to nootropics, Nootropics Ground Zero is a video course that is like perfectly tailored to you. Go get that course, watch yours truly. It's actually really fun and awesome. It's a video course. VTP, if you want to race tests, if you're a guy, you will live longer, you will feel different, you will perform better. Get that at livecortex.com. And then lastly, yeah, there are some slots open for the 3.5 month or the 6 month. They're really one-on-one sort of nootropic and biohacking consults where you're taking all of my 14 years of knowledge and about 6 years of working with high-level professionals, business professionals, and putting it into tailored regimens for you to target the goals of focus, productivity, to supercharge brain performance, really getting your brain in the right place. And usually people have other things that are fussing with brain performance, so we have to address those too. So you kind of get everything in one in those consults. Find them at livecortex.com. Thanks for watching, everybody. Talk to you next time.